The 16-year-old is now charged with murdering 5 people as well as cutting off the thumb of one of the victims in a mass shooting in East St. Louis.
All 5 of those killed from the same family.
The Illinois State Police, along with the East St. Louis Police Department, are investigating a targeted mass shooting against a family here in East St. Louis.
East St. Louis is not a place that gets written about kindly very often, but if you grew up there, or if you had people there, you know it is a place that holds on tight. It is the kind of city where a woman can work one job for 25 years and never once think about leaving it, where half the block calls somebody auntie who is not their auntie at all, where family is not just the people you are born to, it is the people who show up. That is the world this story starts in, and it matters because before any of this became a headline, it was a family, a real one, doing what families in that city have always done, holding each other close. Patricia May was 74 years old. For 25 years, she worked at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, the same job, the same routine, the same woman showing up. Around East St. Louis, people did not even bother using her real name. They just called her Granny. It did not matter whose Granny you actually were either. If she knew you, she claimed you too. That is not a small thing. That is a whole life built one ordinary day at a time, and a reputation you cannot fake your way into. Her daughter, Cherie May, was 49. Family remembers her as the one you called first when something went wrong, because she was going to show up, no questions asked, no lecture attached. That kind of reputation does not happen by accident either. It gets built one favor, one ride to the hospital, one late-night phone call at a time for years, until it is just who you are to everybody who knows you. Cherie's son, Devin May, was 24. He had a 1-year-old daughter, and by every account from the people who knew him, he was completely wrapped around her. You could not say one sideways thing about that little girl in his presence, not one. He worked hard, he came home, he showed up, the same way his mother and grandmother did. That baby girl is going to grow up knowing her father mostly through what everybody else remembers about him, because he is not going to be the one telling her himself. Then there were Quentin and Shania Thompson, brother and sister, 21 and 25. Both of them were still in the middle of becoming whoever they were going to be. Quentin loved to draw. He was deep into anime, the kind of quiet, specific hobby that tells you somebody had a whole imagination running behind their eyes that most people never got to see. Shania could cook, and not just holiday dinner cook, restaurant dream cook, the kind of cooking where you start talking about putting your own name on a door one day, your own place, your own menu, something built from scratch the hard way, the way people who actually mean it do it. That dream does not get to happen now. It does not get to happen ever. 5 people. A grandmother, a mother, a son, a brother, a sister. Real people with real Tuesdays and real plans for next year, and every one of them belonged to the same sprawling, close, blended family that moved through several homes across the city depending on who needed what that week. That detail is not just color. It is how a family this close ends up with people staying in one apartment one week and another the next, and it is part of why what happened to them did not happen in one place. It happened in 3. From the outside, this looked like an ordinary East St. Louis family, big, close, the kind that shows up for each other. That part was true. It was never not true. But underneath all of that, there was a 15-year-old girl in this family, in a relationship her people did not want her in, with a 16-year-old named Jaimir Davis. On its own, that sounds like something almost every family has lived through at some point. A teenager falling for somebody the adults around her do not trust yet. Nobody in this family could have known what that particular disagreement was quietly turning into. We are going to spend some time on that relationship in a moment because you cannot understand what happened to the Mays and the Thompsons without understanding it first. But before we go there, I want you sitting with these 5 people exactly as they were before any of this. Not a headline count, not a statistic. A woman who gave her name to a whole community. A daughter who never once made you feel like a burden. A son who could not stop bragging on his baby girl. A brother who saw the world a little differently and drew what he saw. A sister who was already halfway to the life she wanted. This looked like an ordinary, loving family, and for the most part, It was. But there was one relationship inside it that nobody could control. And it was already becoming something none of them understood, something that would not stay contained to arguments at the dinner table for much longer. Every family has that one relationship they cannot quite make peace with. A boyfriend nobody trusts yet. A girlfriend who shows up and changes the whole mood in a room. Usually it works itself out one way or another. Time passes. People either grow into each other or grow apart, and the family moves on. This family did not get that ordinary outcome, and looking back now, you can see the warning signs were there the whole time. They just did not look like warning signs yet. They looked like a teenager falling too fast for a boy her people did not trust. Jaimir Davis was 16. The girl was 15, still publicly known only by her initials because of her age. What the family understood about the relationship was that it was intense, the kind of intense that only really exists when you are that young, when every disagreement feels like the end of the world, and every reunion feels like fate. And it was a relationship that kept getting interrupted, because more than once the two of them ran off together, and more than once this family found her and brought her home. Sit with that for a second, because it says something important about who this family was. That is not a family that shrugged and let a 15-year-old do whatever she wanted. That is a family that kept going out and getting her back every single time, no matter how many times it happened. That is not overreaction. That is devotion. They were not trying to control her out of spite. They were trying to keep her safe the way families are supposed to. Then came the moment that changed everything. Jaimir Davis was found to be in possession of a stolen handgun, and when a family already uneasy about a relationship finds out the boy involved has a gun that does not belong to him, there is only one answer most families are going to give. This one gave it too. He does not move in. That was the line. Not attitude, not disrespect at dinner. A stolen firearm already in his hands before anybody told him no. But the gun story does not stop there, because the gun itself has its own beginning, and it belongs to this family too. According to relatives, the 15-year-old took her mother's keys, opened a locked box, and took a firearm out of it herself. Her mother noticed it was missing and called the police right away. One report, filed the moment it was discovered. And according to Davis's own mother, that was not the only warning that went out. By her account, made days after her son was arrested for 5 murders, she also reached out more than once about her concerns. What she says she got back was a single incident number and no real follow-up. I want to be careful here because this is one mother's account of her own son, given under the worst possible circumstances, and it has not been independently confirmed by prosecutors. But if even part of it holds up, this was not a family or a mother who looked away from what was happening. This was people trying more than once and getting a case number instead of an intervention. That is the hardest part of this chapter to sit with. This family did not miss the signs. They saw a relationship they did not trust. They saw a stolen gun. They saw a pattern of running and being brought home. They called the police when a firearm went missing. They did everything you are supposed to do when you are worried about someone you love, and it still was not enough to stop what was already being set in motion. Because underneath all of that reporting, underneath all of those conversations at kitchen tables and all of those phone calls to police, there was one more thing neither mother knew the full size of yet. The 2 teenagers were allegedly building something between themselves that neither family had any idea existed. A list, a plan, and specific names on it. People who stood in the way of them being together. We are not there yet. We will get to exactly what was on that list and exactly how far they were willing to go to act on it. But I need you to hold on to that detail for now, because it is going to change how you look at everything that came before it. By the first week of July, this family had said no more than once, and every single time they meant it out of love, not cruelty. What nobody in that family understood yet, what nobody could have understood yet, is that no was never going to be the thing that ended this relationship. It was going to be the thing that ended 5 lives instead. Somewhere between July 5th and July 7th, at the Samuel Gompers homes, Cherie May was killed. That is how plainly prosecutors have laid out the timeline. A window of 2 or 3 days, not one single moment anybody can point to and say, that is when it happened. And that detail alone tells you something important before we even get to what happened to her. Nobody was watching closely enough in that window to know exactly when her life ended, because nobody had any reason yet to think something was wrong. Her body was found later, inside a storage tote, behind a dumpster. I am not going to dwell on that image longer than it deserves, because dwelling on it does not honor her, it just uses her. What matters more is what came after. Days passed before anyone realized she was gone. Not hours, days. And if you have ever been part of a big, busy, blended family, you know exactly how that happens. And it is not neglect, it is just how families like this one actually live. People go quiet for a stretch sometimes. People assume somebody else already checked in. Nobody thinks the worst first, because thinking the worst first is not how love usually works. While that silence was sitting there, unremarked on, undiscovered, something else had already been happening for weeks, and it existed only in text messages, on a phone, in a place nobody in either family could see. Prosecutors later read parts of it aloud in open court, off an actual phone, not rumor, not secondhand, an actual recovered exchange between Jaimir Davis and his girlfriend. In one exchange, prosecutors say, Davis described shooting and stabbing a cousin, and the girl answered him plainly, I can do that. I love blood. In another, the girl wrote to him, Babe, I am finna lose my whole family for you. And in another exchange, prosecutors shared, she asked him directly whether he would do it for the both of them, and he answered with a single word, yes. I am not going to editorialize on top of those messages, because they do not need it. Sit with them for a second, the same way that Courtroom had to sit with them. This was not a crime of passion that happened in one blind, unplanned moment. This was written down, discussed, agreed to in advance by two teenagers who were still, in every legal and practical sense, children. That is the twist this story has been quietly building toward since Chapter 1. Everything that looked like an ordinary family conflict, the running away, the disapproval, the stolen gun, the reports to police that went nowhere, all of it was happening at the exact same time this conversation was happening underneath it. The family was trying to manage a relationship they did not trust. The two teenagers were allegedly planning who would need to be dealt with. And Cherie May's death did not end that plan. It was only the beginning of it. For days after she was killed, her family had no idea. They called. They did not hear back. In a family this size, that is not immediately alarming. People get busy. People do not answer right away, especially in the middle of summer. But eventually, that silence stopped feeling normal. Eventually, somebody decided enough time had passed that somebody needed to actually go check. On July 12th, Cherie's brother, Devin May, and her mother, Patricia May, drove to that same apartment at the Samuel Gompers homes, the one this family had used for years, the one that had never once been anything other than familiar to them. They had no reason to expect anything other than an ordinary, if overdue, welfare check. Knock on the door, find out why nobody had heard from her, maybe find her simply overwhelmed, maybe annoyed at them for worrying. What they did not know, what they had no possible way of knowing, is that Jaimir Davis was already inside that apartment, waiting, hidden in a closet. Devin walked in first. Prosecutors say he went upstairs into that apartment, unaware anyone was waiting, and Jaimir Davis shot him. He died there, inside the same building his family had trusted for years. Patricia was still outside, waiting in the car. She was 74 years old, and she was not the one who had gone in. By every account, she was simply there, present, waiting on the people she loved to come back out and tell her everything was fine. Prosecutors say her own granddaughter came outside and asked her to come in. I want you to actually picture that moment, not for shock, but because it is the whole tragedy of this case compressed into a few seconds. A grandmother does not ask questions when her granddaughter tells her to come inside. She does not hesitate. She does not wonder if something is wrong. She gets out of the car, because when blood calls you inside, you go. That is not naivety. That is love, working exactly the way it is supposed to work, right up until the moment it was used against her. Patricia walked into that apartment. Prosecutors say Davis stepped out of the closet where he had been waiting and shot her too, She did not walk back out. Investigators say Davis then cut off one of her thumbs. That detail is not included here to shock you. It matters because it becomes physical evidence later, and because it is tied directly to one of the charges eventually filed against him, dismembering a human body. I am not going to describe it further than that. It does not need embellishing. What happened to her already says everything it needs to say. That same day, the violence did not stay contained to one apartment. Across two other locations in East St. Louis, Jones Park, and a home at 39th and Summit, it kept going. Quentin Thompson and Shania Thompson, brother and sister, were shot and killed. Two other family members were shot as well and survived, taken to a hospital in St. Louis with serious injuries. By the time it was over, 7 people connected to this one family had been shot in a single stretch of days. 5 of them did not survive it. Investigators would later describe this plainly as a targeted mass shooting. Not random, not connected to strangers. Every single person hit was connected to this one family. No bystanders, no innocent strangers caught in the crossfire, which somehow makes it both easier and harder to understand at the same time. Easier, because there is a clear line connecting every victim. Harder, because that line runs directly through people who loved each other. By the time state troopers caught up with Jaimir Davis and his girlfriend, they were driving a car that was not theirs at Frank Holton State Park, and the whole thing, start to finish, had lasted less than a week. It is worth pausing on that, because these 2 teenagers seemed to be chasing something bigger than what they actually became. The real Bonnie and Clyde, the couple this case keeps getting compared to whether people mean it seriously or not, ran for 2 years across 5 states before anyone caught them. These 2 did not make it out of East St. Louis. Troopers ran them down in a stolen vehicle before the week had even ended, with a grandmother's severed thumb sitting in the center console for anyone to find. That is not a getaway. That is not the romantic ending either one of them may have imagined for themselves. It is simply the point where it stopped. In the hours after their arrest, investigators stood in front of cameras and tried to explain what had just happened to this city. They described 3 separate connected crime scenes.
Preliminary investigation indicates that 2 16-year-old suspects were taken into custody on Sunday, July 12th, today, 2026.
They confirmed 5 names: Cherie May, Quentin Thompson, Devin May, Shania Thompson, and Patricia May, each one read aloud with a date of birth attached, because that is how you formally confirm a death, and because it is also, in its own quiet way, a form of respect, insisting these were real, whole people with real birthdays, not just a body count. One official, asked directly whether anything like this had ever happened in this community before, answered honestly. He said he wished he could tell them there had been prior cases like it. There had not been. Not in recent memory, not that anyone currently working in law enforcement in that area could recall. A quintuple homicide inside one extended family over the course of a single week was, in his own words, very rare. Then he said something else, something that had nothing to do with evidence or charges or timelines. He said this community had worked hard for years alongside police to bring violence down, and that this would not undo that work. He said it would not keep the city down. Whether that turns out to be true is not something any press conference can answer. What is true right now is this. A family that showed up for each other their entire lives did not get to choose how their story ended. 5 people were gone. 2 teenagers were in custody. And a city that had already been working so hard to protect itself was left standing there, trying to explain something that did not have an easy explanation at all. Jaimir Davis is being prosecuted as an adult. The charges against him are laid out plainly in court filings: 5 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of attempted murder, 2 counts of aggravated battery, 1 count of aggravated vehicular hijacking, 1 count of dismembering a human body, and 1 count of unlawful use of a stolen firearm. 12 counts in total. A judge ordered him held without bond, describing what prosecutors laid out in that hearing as a horrifying sequence of events, and saying there was no combination of conditions that could safely mitigate the danger he posed if released. In a state that has done away with cash bail entirely, that ruling was never about money. It was about whether he was safe to be anywhere near the outside world before trial. The answer was no. His attorney has said the truth will come out at trial, and has described the killings as self-defense, saying his client was not the hunter, but the hunted. I want to be fair here the same way I would want anyone to be fair to me. A defense attorney's job is to make that argument. That is what the job requires, regardless of what the evidence looks like from the outside. Whether it holds up in front of a jury is a completely different conversation, one this case has not reached yet, and one none of us get to settle from here. The girl, still known publicly only by her initials because of her age, is being handled differently. Her case began in juvenile court, but prosecutors have filed to move it into adult criminal court, given the severity of the charges attached to her, charges that include murder. According to her own father, Marcus May, she was angry with family members in the weeks before this happened, and he believes she helped plan the attacks alongside Davis. Sit with who Marcus May actually is for a moment, because it is one of the most quietly devastating details in this entire case. He is her father. He is also related to several of the people who were killed. In his own words, he lost a nephew, 2 stepchildren, his mother, and a sister, all in the same week. And the person accused of helping plan it is his own daughter. There is no version of that sentence that gets easier the more times you read it. The night after Davis's bond hearing, hundreds of people packed into All Nations Church for a prayer vigil. Watching that vigil back, what stands out is not simply grief. Grief alone would almost be simple by comparison. What stands out is how tangled the feelings in that room actually were. People spoke about forgiveness, about being taught to love one another, about needing to pray for everyone involved, including the 2 teenagers. And in the very same breath, people spoke about disbelief, about wondering what she could possibly have been thinking, about the plain, aching fact that these 2 teenagers wanted to be together so badly that they are now guaranteed never to be together again. Forgive, but also, what was she thinking? Pray for everybody, but also, look what together actually cost. That tension is real, and it deserves to be left exactly as complicated as it actually is, rather than resolved into something tidy for the sake of a clean ending. Online, the reaction took a different shape entirely. After Davis's mother posted publicly about her son, the post spread quickly, hundreds of shares, dozens of comments, and by her own account, strangers sending friend requests just to keep arguing with her directly. Whatever anyone thinks of what she said, that reaction says something true about how these stories move once they leave a courtroom. Somebody's private pain becomes a public comment section almost instantly. It is worth naming that honestly, especially given that a story like this one, told the way we are telling it right now, is part of that same larger current. We are not above it. We are simply trying to be careful inside of it. So here is where things actually stand. 2 teenagers. Charges that continue to be added and refined as the investigation moves forward. A family that had already planned 5 funerals before either of them had said a single word, guilty or not guilty, in front of a jury. This case is not finished. It is barely past its beginning. Before we close, I want to say the 5 names one more time, slowly, the way they deserve to be said. Patricia May, Cherie May, Devin May, Quentin Thompson, Shania Thompson. Every one of them was loved long before any of this happened, and long before the world ever learned their names for the worst possible reason. That vigil, all those hundreds of people who showed up on a hard night, was never really about the case at all. It was about them. A 74-year-old woman got out of a car because someone she loved asked her to come inside. That is the whole tragedy contained in one sentence, trust used as the door. If this case is still developing by the time you are hearing this, and it almost certainly is, we will stay with it. New hearings, the push to move that 15-year-old into adult court, whatever comes next. Some stories do not get to close neatly, and that is not a flaw in how we told it. That is simply the truth of where this one actually stands right now. Thank you for sitting with something this heavy all the way to the end. I would genuinely like to know what you think should happen to both of them, and I will see you in the next one.